In game week 8, I made FPL's most forbidden transfer, and after a 5-game week run of green arrows which saw me rise 8 million places in the overall rankings, this week I have been brought crashing back down to earth as my hit for a goalkeeper has not paid off, and rubbing salt in the wounds is seeing my sub-goalie get 9 points while my starting keeper did nothing. Yes, it was one of those weeks in FPL, and maybe I had a bit of an Icarus moment. Maybe I flew a little bit too close to the sun. But what is this game about if it's not about taking chances? Yes, I brought in Nick Pope for a hit. The other player I brought in, Sean Longstaff, he was on my bench. And yes, it looks a bit silly in hindsight now. You know, you take a hit for a goalkeeper, very few routes to points. You're banking on a clean sheet for it to pay off. It did not come, and now I look a bit stupid. I knew that was the risk, but it doesn't matter. I'm quite confident in the decision because it was not a decision made for the 1 game week. It was a decision made for the next 7 or 8 game weeks until we get them 5 free transfers where you could reasonably justify a goalkeeper transfer. You see, on the pubcast the other day, Gary's like, "What are you doing? Why are you taking a hit?" I'm just going to have a sit down. I'll get into why in a minute. Gary's like, "Why are you taking a hit for a goalkeeper?" He goes, "I've got Matt Sells and I don't want Matt Sells, but I wouldn't take a hit for him." And I texted him, I said, "Gary, man, what are you on about? Why wouldn't you take a hit for Matt Sells? If you'd have took the hit for Matt Sells to Nick Pope in game week 4, then by now you would have been 10 points up on the move." So sometimes it does pay to be proactive now when you see your goalkeeper go away, concede 2 goals. He got the save points, but he did concede the goals. It does not look like a move that makes sense, especially with Vicario playing tomorrow. He could easily get a clean sheet. But maybe he gets sent off. You just don't know. You just don't know. But the reason I wanted to do it is because I wanted it done. Like, I made people, like, sometimes you wonder if people just look at the headlines, because I thought I made my reasoning very clear in my video the other day that I was doing that move because otherwise I'd talk myself out of it every week. You know, if I leave it a week and maybe do it next week for free, use 2 free transfers to get him in for nothing, maybe that would make sense. But next week, there'll be 2 other moves. I mean, I look at my team now. Agbadou, not a minute. Played, Livramento, injured. And these are crucial things because my starting defender, Josko Gvardiol, didn't play a minute. So not only have I taken a hit, I've taken a hit and ended up with only 10 players on the field, which is just how this game goes sometimes, and you can't do anything about that. But having seen how this game week's gone, if I had the 2 free transfers next week, what would I be doing? Yes, that's right. Agbadou and Livramento out. And once again, the transfer of Nick Pope would have to wait. Who else would I want rid of? Tiani Reinders. I mean, let's face it, the lad looks a good player, but when it comes to FPL, he looks a bit of a bust. It's just not working. He's just not reeling in the points. And that's what the game comes down to in the end. You need the points, and we're just not getting them. There's so many people out. I've had to come out early tonight because I looked on the forecast. It said there's going to be an early sunset, well, 6 p.m, which is why I'm out here. It's about 5:45. I don't know what's happening in the Arsenal match, but I've come to the park and you can see this is a different background than normal. And that's because there's a lot of youths and I've got a little light on my camera, which I'm not too keen on because while it does improve the picture quality, the problem is it's just a bit, I'm worried it's going to damage the camera, so I might not use that next time. Now, I'm not going to get into camera talk. I've taught my wife's ear off about cameras. So, when it comes to next week, I would have wanted to bring in somebody else. Oh, there's a load of leaves falling off the trees. Look at this. Maybe it's a sign of something. Probably my FPL rank falling as Gyökeres just scored. Let's have a look. Can you get them? As Gyökeres scored, that would be funny, wouldn't it? All the grief I've given him. But I tell you what, I tell you something. No goal for Gyökeres, but my rank is falling. Although it would be a grey arrow if it wasn't for the hit, so it's not the end of the world. But speaking of Gyökeres, my big call last week, I said Saka, Voltemada, emergency video. Saka and Voltemada over Gordon and Gyökeres, and look how that's turned out. Another goal for Voltemada today, one of them lovely little heel flicks. Done the heel flick and you can't even see it because it's a selfie camera. Oh my word. I am still not right. I don't know what Saka's going to do, but at the minute, that move looking like genius. People said, oh, you're being harsh on Gordon. Why wouldn't you get Gordon his own penalties? Well, something not right about Anthony Gordon. There's something not right. And it's funny because his reputation nationally seems to be rising. At the same time, my views on him are falling. And I find that quite funny, really. But I just think he looks aimless is the problem. He looks aimless in what he's trying to achieve. And I don't know what it is. I wonder if people in the Premier League have figured him out. They know what to expect from Gordon. Maybe he looked better for England. Well, for one, he was playing Latvia, which, different level of opposition. But also, maybe just on the international stage, you haven't quite figured him out yet, that direct pace. But I tell you what, it's a bit of a concern at Newcastle in the attack. It is not clicking, and Voltemada is papering over the cracks. That wonderful goal, but I feel like I might have upset a few people this week because I said don't get Gordon because I think Barnes will start, because traditionally Eddie Howe starts the players who are at Newcastle during the international break rather than those away. And like watching that game today, I bet he wished he'd done the same because, you had Joe Linton, crap. Guimaraes, a bit better, but crap. Gordon, crap. Elanga, crap. Tonali, even not at his usual levels. Newcastle just weren't at the races. And then Harvey Barnes came on, and I mean, I'm not being funny. I would be starting Harvey Barnes over Gordon because it's what we're approaching 20 games without we're approaching 20 games since Anthony Gordon last got a non-penalty goal or assist in the league for Newcastle. And it's just I don't know. It's funny because people used to say Saint-Maximin was a bad pick because he'd be exciting to watch, he'd be direct, but he'd never get the ball in the net, he'd never get the job done. And that's exactly what Anthony Gordon is doing right now. And yeah, I'm not disappointed I've not got him. I am delighted to have Voltemada. What a player. So, getting a bit sidetracked with me talk on Newcastle. Right, sat down again. Tell you what it is with my leg, right? And maybe this is factoring into my decision making as well, why I made that hit for the goalkeeper. Because I did 8 24-hour shifts at work in 16 days because of illness and holidays. And it absolutely wore me out. There was tiffs, there was behind the scenes drama in the YouTube community. There was all sorts going on. And I feel like my head has just been clouded all for about a week. I feel like I'm just trying to get through. And anyway, I managed to make it through. I finished work yesterday morning and I was on a bit of a high. I thought, yeah, I'm doing this transfer that I said I'm going to do. I'm going to get this Nick Pope in for the hit. Nearly started Longstaff just out of sheer hubris. And I wish I had, because he would have got more points than Reinders. But in addition, I'm looking around for the people. Nice little seat here. Maybe this will do. So I thought, I went to me dodgeball. I need to keep walking. I went to dodgeball last night. I love me dodgeball. I do. Been 4 times this season. First time, I did me back. Did me back the first time. Woke up in the middle of the night screaming in pain because my back seized up while I was asleep. And I mentioned that last time, didn't I, the time before? I wasn't screaming in terror of forgetting to triple captain Haaland. And then the second time I went, I kind of did my wrist or something after about 5 minutes. Anyway, so last night I went and I was so excited, I've all this work, a nice way to go and just, release a bit of frustration, release a bit of tension. And I hadn't warmed up properly because I had a siesta and overslept. Hadn't warmed up properly. Had warmed up, just not properly. And then in the first game, you know, I was like, it was down to me versus about 4 people with about 10 seconds left. Then I thought, I'll get a Raj here and I'll start throwing balls at everyone, left, right and centre, running about the court like a madman, and I've tweaked my calf. So all that, I was looking forward to it so much, so excited, and then after 5 minutes, the session was buggered because I got overexcited. And I feel there's a bit of an FPL analogy in there because, like, sometimes you start off and you make the aggressive moves like Pope, like the Anthony Gordon captaincy, like my man D-Unit with his triple Foden captaincy over the last 3 weeks instead of Haaland, and it's not worked for him, you know, like Trigger Lips, chancing against Semenyo week after week. You know, you make the aggressive moves early on to try and establish a bit of dominance, to try and set the tone for the entire session, the entire season. And then if you've not warmed up properly, if you've not done the fundamentals, if you've not got your ducks in a row, sometimes you tweak a calf muscle. Sometimes you hamstring yourself for the entire season. And I'm not at that level. D-Unit might be approaching it. Bless him. I feel bad for him. Like, it's funny, isn't it? Because, you know, I was a bit frustrated about the Pope thing, but it was expected because it always, whenever you make a transfer of a keeper or a defender, they always concede. It's like one of the unwritten rules of FPL. And then I saw D-Unit, bench boost for Krejci, own goal. You know, 4 points on his bench boost. He'd captained Foden for another Haaland brace. And I felt for the lad, I did. You know, I do like the D-Unit, and fair play to him. Just put the active track on. Fair play to him, you know, because he was live streaming while his game week and his season fell apart, and he fronted it out, you know. He didn't run, he didn't hide, he didn't stop the stream. He kept going, he was responding to the comments, but you can tell he's beaten down already by the season. And it's, what is it in us that when we know someone we like is going through that, our first reaction is to pop onto the live chat, oh, by the way, Darius, your scores are wrong because Dan Burn got booked for dissent. Oh, Darius, how are you? You're looking forward to the late night lock-in later. I can't wait to see you rip Gary about his double Burnley defence against your mighty DCL, you know. And, like, you know he's feeling bad. And the first reaction is banter. The first reaction is to tease him while he's on camera. And it's like, why do we do that? And it's not just me. I'm a bugger for it sometimes, but I take it as well. You know, I don't get mad at people. I play along. I might be raging inside, but why do we do that? So I don't know. I felt a bit bad afterwards, but he's a big boy. He knew the possibility, and fair play to him. It does make you wonder why we do that all the time. And I think part of it is because ultimately we're all trying to win this game, and I want to beat Darius. I like him, but I want to beat him. Well, maybe it just made me feel a bit better to be a bit of a tosser, someone who I knew could take it. And what does that say about us? What does that say about me? Because it's not just me. It's not just me. I know you all do it. We all do. And you know what? I'll do it again later. But yeah, so far, Pope 2 points. It is what it is. Do you know what? The hit might still pay off. Because how can we say that Vicario won't get sent off yet? If Vicario gets sent off, then it's sorted. But the thing with Pope is it's not the end of the world because he's in the team now. You know, I've paid 4 points, probably going to lose those 4 points, but I've got a goalkeeper I'm happy with. I don't need to think about that position anymore. And it's a good job because my defence is a shambles. Pedro Porro playing tomorrow. Who knows what he'll do? Senesi, 2 points. Were they DEFCONs? 2 DEFCON points, but he got his yellow card. He conceded the goals. maybe this is going to be... Love walking in these leaves, bit atmospheric. I feel like hiking shorty, but I am not a really cool girl. Isn't the sheer delight on the old Twitter, like, just a ray of positivity through the feed. That's what we need more of. That's why I like doing these walking videos. Some are a bit different, some are a bit fun. Probably could have done with a bit of scripting, but yeah, Pedro Porro, maybe he'll do something tomorrow. The irony is, I kind of need him to concede to stop the Pope hit looking even stupider. I've dug myself a hole here, like, haven't I? What an idiot. Gvardiol, 0 points. Agbadou on the bench, 0 points. Livramento on the bench, 0 points. Like, this is why I couldn't take the hit, and I've said this, so I'm not going to say it again, but now you see, if I had 2 free transfers next week, it would be on them 2 defenders, and then if I wanted Pope, it would have been a hit, and then it would be like, oh, I'll just wait another week, and then something else will happen. Reinders I want gone, so I'll get Declan Rice in for Reinders or something. Enzo Fernandez, maybe Ilman Undai, he looks quite good. Darius keeps telling me he's rubbish, but he just keeps picking up the points. Lovely bit of skill from him, I saw on Twitter. So yeah, the week after I would have had to replace somebody else, maybe Joao Pedro. I'm going to talk about it in a minute. He was one of the key topics I wanted to discuss. So I would have used that free transfer on somebody else in game week 10, and then another one in game week 11, and then before you know it, like 5 game weeks have gone by, I've still not got Nick Pope, still need to take a hit to get him, and I've left a load of points on the table, or maybe not, as the case may be, certainly this week. Now there's somebody, I was about to turn around, and now there's somebody else walking. I am not. Oh, a couple of lovely dogs. I do like the dogs. But, so it's just one of them. At some point, I'm going to have to take a hit if I want to sort out the goalkeeper situation. And if that's the case, why not do it early? Maximise the potential to make the points up. Makes sense to me, might not to you, does to me. Don't regret the move, and next week I've got Nick Pope in my team, and I'm happy enough with that. But I do need to sort these defenders. I don't feel like I can get rid of Gvardiol. And do you know what it is? I think this is something we're going to have to get used to. We all panic when our defenders don't play. We all panic about rotation, but in the modern game, there's just so much football played. There's so many matches for these players that we're just going to have to get used to the fact that they are going to miss games. And, you know, it's like, I sold Kukurea because he was rotated out and he's going to got 8 points today. How nice that would have been. But then because I sold him, I got 12 points off Gvardiol last week or the week before. So, you know, it's one of them. Over time, they all seem to even out pretty much. And this is something Nick Triggerlips was saying in his video the other day, and it's perhaps one of the most truest things about FPL. Don't take out good players for good players, because good players get points. So if you're doing a good player to a good player, all you're doing is increasing the chances of getting frustrated that the good player you've taken out has got the points. So maybe that's something I need to bear in mind. And the handy thing is, I've got 1.7 million in the bank. I've got Livramento injured and Agbadou not playing. Then an injured player and Agbadou are not good players, and I can improve them both. So I don't know. Palace didn't have Arsenal. Munoz. Maybe these DEFCON daddies, at the start of the season, like, I know I've been a big proponent of the DEFCON daddy, I still am. At the start of the season, what my thinking was, you get your DEFCON daddies on the bench, and then you get your attackers, your attacking defenders in the starting 11, at least 2 of them, and you can like rotate the DEFCON daddy. And then if somebody misses out, like Gvardiol today, could have a solid 4-pointer coming off the bench, and that's good. That's all you need from that position. Pardon me. And obviously today, if I had Mukiele, and that was a move I did discuss, wasn't it? Alderete or Mukiele for Livramento instead of Pope, instead of Harvey Barnes out. And if I had Mukiele on the bench today, Gvardiol misses out on 17 points off the bench, how good would that have been? So maybe that is the strategy, attacking fullbacks on the pitch, and then Defcon Daddy's on the bench. I still think that was my initial gut instinct, and I've not actually seen all that much to change that theory. So what I'm thinking is at least one of Agbadou and Livramento to Munoz could be one, but he's playing Arsenal, I think. Timber or Gabriel. And you know, like, for all I will admit, I do wind Darius up quite a bit. For fun, he can take it. I saw something on his video the other day and he said, why are you getting Timber instead of Gabriel? Why are you getting Gabriel instead of Timber when Timber has a much higher expected goals involvement? And I feel like that's a misreading of the situation. This is where statistics are misleading, because Gabriel, the way he gets his attacking points, it's irrelevant about XGI. It's not like he's getting, because he's attacking corners. So if the corner doesn't come to him, he's going to get 0.0 XGI for that attacking thing. But all he needs is one corner to come to him. And then, I mean, the way he plays it, it's almost like a 1.0 XGI for Gabriel. So I feel like that's a bit misleading. All he needs is one of those corners to land on his head and it's a goal, whereas Timbers is more from open play. But I don't know, I might get both. Who knows? I don't really like double Arsenal defence, but we'll see. I might get home and they're 2-0 or something, and Gabriel and your man Timber have both scored the points. Oh, Saka's got something. What's he got? What's Saka got? Saka, anyway. So yeah, so that's what I'm thinking. It'll be them two defenders. Maybe I'm not getting Mookie early now. Oh, too reactionary. You're only doing it. Yeah, I don't know why it's saying Saka's got 4 points, like. Maybe it's just wrong. So yeah, I don't know. I'll have to have a think about which defenders to bring in. Defender, because I might take a hit. But I've got one defender transfer, and it just makes sense to do Livramento to Drury and Timber, I think. I quite like that move. Maybe Gabriel, though. But don't be put off by people saying, oh, Timber's got a higher XGI, because it's irrelevant for the sort of way Gabriel scores goals. That's my point. And so, yeah. And then in midfield, I've got Kudos to play tomorrow. And I like Kudos. I'm quite confident he'll save a bit of the damage here, because Aston Villa have conceded over a third of their XGI from the right winger position where Kudos plays. So I'm quite confident Kudos will get me something. Reinders, rubbish. I think Reinders must be Dutch for rubbish, because he's not doing anything, is he? He'll be gone before long. Might even start playing Longstaff over him for the bands. Then I've got Semenyo, irrelevant. Saka playing now, who knows? Up front, Haaland, irrelevant, 26 points. Everyone's got him, except D-Unit, who's just got him not captained. Voltemada, 8 points, saving my bacon a bit at the minute. Joao Pedro, and now we're going to talk about Joao Pedro. And yeah, look, the problem is I've been here before, and I might sell Pedro. He's on my mind, because I've been here before last year at this time of the season when Chelsea had an amazing run of games, and I brought in Nicholas Jackson for Chelsea's amazing run of games. And what happened? Everybody else went Cunha, and Cunha smashed him, absolutely smashed him. And Pedro, amazing run of games, but he's not in form, and it is a concern for me. I can't deny. Is history repeating itself? Is this a case of needing to learn the lesson of last season and address the issue, or is this a case where once bitten, twice shy? I don't know. Now, luckily, in a way, I'm going to have to address that defence now. So Pedro that question can be deferred. But if you have got the transfer, I mean, it's a big call, isn't it? Because of Jackson last season, because of how poorly Pedro's playing. Like Trigger said, they played a lot better when GW8 came on. And GW8. And Pedro dropped deeper. And maybe that is going to be the key for Joao Pedro. Maybe they start GW next week and it's all sorted. I don't know. But nothing I can do about it at the moment. So maybe that'll work out in my favour. But it is a worry. But the thing is, who is going to be, if I do get rid of him, who is this season's Cunha? Because I can tell you who it is. It's Voltemada. If you don't have Voltemada, like how much longer are you going to leave it? He's unbelievable. Unbelievable. So I've got Voltemada keeping me in the hunt, and you know, it's not exciting at the minute. This is not an exciting time of the season. There's a bit of stasis in the teams. There's a bit of tedium in the transfers. There's only so much you can do. And sometimes you take the gamble to try and make it interesting. You make Foden captain, you get smashed. You do what my man Shane, FPL veteran, did. You sell Semenyo for whatever reason. That was a strange one. And then he gets the assist. So where it goes, sometimes it's a long season. Well, always it's a long season. And sometimes you just have to take your licks. You can't force excitement in this game. Sometimes you just have to have a tedious game week before the triumph a little bit down the line. I did FPL's most forbidden transfer. Some might say I've learned why it is the case. I haven't really learnt the lesson. I still think it was the right move, even if the points didn't come yet. And that's that. Thanks for watching. Feel like I've been far too self-conscious on this video, all over the place, but I'm quite impressed with how well my light seems to have done, because it's quite dark. Look at that, dusk, and you can still see me clearly. Maybe I'll have to rethink this, although I'll be much happier with a different camera for these situations. But I'm not going to, if anyone wants to know my thoughts on cameras, hit me up in the DMs or maybe even in the comments. So yeah, I'm going to go. Hopefully Saka can get me the points. Hopefully Fulham can get me a goal to prevent that Arsenal clean sheet punishing me. Thanks for watching. We will see you next time.